everyone, I'm Alain and welcome to Fable Coffee Talks. Today we have...
I'm Andy.
And a very special guest.
Yeah, my name is Landon from Cupa Coffee Roasting, so how are we doing?
Yeah, I mean...
Our first guest.
Our first guest,
yeah.
Wow, I'm the first.
Yeah, so, and then, talk a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a young man. I'm only 25 years old, but I've been in coffee since I was 18 years old. I'm originally from Michigan, where I got started my coffee career. I started off as being a young barista, and I've been passionately fueled about it ever since. When I moved down to Orlando in 2018, I actually picked up the interest in roasting coffee, so I volunteered a lot of my times at a couple of my past jobs at warehouses, learning how to roast. And ever since then, I've fallen in love with the idea of coffee. So, 7, 8 years later, here I am.
Dude, that's a journey.
Yeah.
I think in total I've been in coffee only 3 years, I want to say.
It's a long time, man.
I mean, but compared to 7...
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like it's that long because for me, it's been exciting to go to work every day and be behind bar. And up until recently, I was combating my time between the bar and coffee roasting. So a lot of my time would be spent behind bar, and then at night after I would work a 10, 12-hour shift, I'd go into a roastery and work another 10, 12 hours.
Under a hot roaster.
Under a hot roaster
yeah.
with very little sleep, yeah.
What made you to decide I want to, roast coffee, and that's my...
No, yeah, it's funny.
thing.
It's funny because I tell this story to everybody, and no one ever believes me. But when I was a young man in Michigan, there used to be this coffee company I worked for called Water Street, and Water Street Coffee was in Kalamazoo, Michigan. So I'm gonna do the hand thing really quick. If you guys don't know, This is Michigan. I'm from over here.
Oh,
and then I went to college over here. So when I went to college over here, they taught me everything about espresso, extraction, growing coffee, and I had to take written tests before I got into it.
did you do all the SCA stuff?
I did all the SCA stuff after I worked at Water Street.
That's for you guys out there. That's a Specialty Coffee Associates. Just a guidelines and industry standards in specialty coffee.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. You go in there, you learn some stuff, you take some tests, they give you a certificate, and you're now certified.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really mean anything, but you learn a lot of stuff. But back in my first job, there used to be something they did every month called Roastmaster Hour, and you'd go to the roastery and you'd work with the guy behind the roaster, and he'd teach you how to roast. Well, the first time I went in there was in the midsummer in Michigan, and they don't have AC in this warehouse, and it gets very incredibly hot. And way back in the day, I was a dehydrated young man, drinking a lot at the night before, so I didn't have very much water in my system, and I came into the warehouse, and I was in there for maybe about, 15, 20 minutes, and I passed out. So I passed out, and I wake up with everyone standing over me, and they're like, "You sure you want to be a coffee roaster when you get older?" And I'm like, "Yes. This is solidified. This is what I have to do. Is I have to redeem myself." So ever since I was about 18, it's been a passion of mine since I first bared witness to roasting and process. That's what I wanted to do.
Man, that's so cool. I think that's a pretty special thing to find something you like, that early on and stick with it so consistently for so long.
And it's been challenging, man. Don't get me wrong, it's any other job. You run into obstacles. The ceiling in the coffee industry as a barista is very, very low. I mean, either you're the shop owner, the shop manager, or you're just a general barista. And to me, I could never be satisfied with just being a general barista. I always wanted more. I always wanted to learn more. I wanted to apply more in the cafe. I wanted to elevate. And no matter how far I went, it's like a rabbit hole. You keep wanting to go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yep.
So, I'm sure you guys know how that is.
Oh.
When we start talking about how much minerals is in the water that we brew with, and we know that we're...
It's actually funny. My favorite book when I was 20 years old was a water quality handbook from the SCA, and it was about 300 pages of just how to make better water.
Man, I'm so glad that there's so many other coffee professionals out there that kind of
get it.
Aggregate. Well, they get it, and they aggregate all that information for people just coming into the industry and figuring it out. And
yeah, a lot of coffee is just trial and error. I'm sure you guys also know that is.
I don't know a lot.
So
part of this is getting Andy into the coffee world a little bit.
Okay, so Andy, let me tell you something straight. A lot of your time is going to be spent doing something that doesn't work out, and then you're going to figure out a lot of ways on how to make it work based on not figuring it out the past 20 times. Especially in a cafe setting, when you're playing with a new coffee or when you're playing with a new recipe
Dialing
for
it
something or anything like that. It takes a long time to figure it out, especially if you want to have a really solid end product that you're proud of. And imposter syndrome in coffee is huge. Like you don't get proud of what you do, and you feel like everything that you do, you don't know what you're talking about, and you don't know anything.
I can feel that because I come from the bakery world, and then I do have bakery products out there.
Yeah.
And every time we do a product, I try it. I'm like, this is good, but it's not.
It's not
good
the best.
enough.
Right?
Yeah.
But I learned that from, and I want to remember the name of the person. There's like, you're never gonna get perfection.
Right.
Just put out there, and then the feedback from your customers will make you.
They'll make you calm down. Yeah, it levels you
up. It will
up.
make you improve too. Like, hey, they'll tell you what
needs to be better.
I don't know. I think in the real world, it's kind of the feedback you get from like a retail customer tends to only just be like negative, either like very surface level, it was good, or very negative, like this was trash, like this is not what Americano should be.
Right.
And I feel like we don't get a lot of feedback in that middle zone that we really want of like, oh, I wish it was a little bit sweeter, you know? Like, okay, I can do like, yeah, that I can tune for and adjust for if I hear it enough, right?
It's also one of those things where it's like next time you can always adjust for it, but in the moment it's like
it's your handing off your baby, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah, it's like how do you do better with something that you're like, well, I know this is good, but like I'm staring at it. I know the customer's gonna think it's the best thing they've ever had, which is the important part. But for me, when I'm doing something that I'm so passionate about, it's like something that I really want to say, like, yes, like I killed this. I'm sure you get it as baking, because baking is rigorous.
Yeah.
It's very rigorous, and it takes a lot of skill, a lot of time. And sometimes when you finish off a product, I'm sure you're looking at it and you feel like if it's not the best in your mind, you feel like you wasted time. You know what I'm saying? And that's an invaluable resource.
Yeah, but it's just funny because and then when I see you guys, that come from a passion that became a business.
Yeah.
I decided to do a business.
That came from a passion.
And then like what I can do with what I have, and then the bakery came.
Yeah.
So I always do the business plan first, and then that's why I said if the product's not to perfection yet, I can always put out there and get the feedback and improve
and
on
keep
it.
building. Yeah.
Yeah, but I see that when it's your passion, and then you go from your passion to make your passion a business.
It's hard.
Then you have that more attachment to the product.
Yeah,
just like,
yeah, it's hard to let go.
Perfect. Yeah, because my story is just like, okay, I have a family member that needs work.
Right.
I need to get this person to start making money. What we do? Let's open a business.
Right.
What can you do? I'm okay in the kitchen. Okay, let's open a thing that you can do. And
anything.
And we went. But I never started a business that from a passion of mine, because actually I never made a way to make money with my passions, like painting.
The resins that you do. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's the cool thing about nowadays too, is everyone can like have a passion that you can turn into a business, especially if you're very conscious of the space that you're in. Right. Like when I was 21, I started my company when I was still in college. It started off as a consulting company. So I would help coffee shops like do better about like dialing in. I'd do education packets. I'd make sure I like did like actual in-person consulting to build out new cafes. So, I mean, it's something that I took my expertise and my like experience with and made into a business. And it's something that I also just was fortunate enough to really care about. But a big part of caring about it is you put too much effort and too much passion into a business, you get burnt out really quickly. And when your passion and your business are the same thing, you already know it becomes very, very tiring very quickly, and it makes you not care as much in the moment about what you're doing. But I'm very fortunate that I have not hit that wall quite yet. I'm 7 years into coffee. I'm about 3 years in independently roasting, and every time I go fire up the roaster, it feels like it's the first time, and it makes me so excited. Yeah.
Well, so you started Cupa 3 years ago then?
I started it 3 years ago, and about almost 4 years ago now, yeah.
Where do you, where do you envision taking Cupa? In your dream of dreams, like, what do you want that to be?
This is the raw question. Yeah, this is the one that everyone always asks. So right now I'm just a roasting company. Mm-hmm. And in the future, I'd like to be roasting and consulting, and I would like to import my own coffee and store these coffees for other people. So if they're buying lots of coffee, they don't need to put them all on a truck and buy them right away. I can store other people's coffee for them, importing coffee directly from farmers, doing direct trade, so making sure they're getting paid a fair contracted price every year. And the biggest thing for me is I really want to make a social impact on origin. Like in the future, I would like to be able to build drying beds, build better infrastructure for like drying coffee or producing or picking, or buy machinery for farms, or even help the local communities in these places that don't have access to clean running water or even have kids that are able to go to school. One of the worst statistics I think I've ever heard in coffee is that a family of 10 in, let's say, like Mexico or Guatemala may have 10 children, but one of those kids is going to school with all of the money that they're paying, or they're getting paid for producing coffee. And it's not fair for kids to have to be born into something that they may or may not care about. So for me, I really want to help, the future generations of coffee producers, yes, but I really want to help the future generations of these third world countries that do produce coffee. They don't have the access to have the same thing that I do, where I can just wake up and go, I want to work in coffee the rest of my life because I care about it. Some of these kids can't just pick up a book and say, I'm going to be a doctor someday, because they don't have the money or the means to be able to do that.
Do you know anybody out there that's doing something in the social work like that?
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because downtown Credo is actually doing really good work with the farmers that they buy coffee from. They're a local coffee roaster in Orlando, and they're also a cafe. But they only buy direct trade coffees, which means they're paying the farmers directly at a higher premium than they would normally pay an importer for. Importers typically get a contract with the coffee farms every year, and the contract price stays the same across the X term of the years. So typically they'll make the same amount of money, even if the commodity price in the coffee market goes up or down. They're making the same amount of money, which doesn't always benefit them because coffee is very expensive to produce. So typically when we're looking at places like Ethiopia, they're making maybe 5 cents a day. Whereas like if they were buying direct trade, they make $5 a day, which is not great, but it's still making a huge difference in their lives, because the US dollar in other countries, as I'm sure we know, is worth a lot more.
So all these farmers are just locked into these contracts with suppliers and...
Yeah. So not to name any big names, but there is one very big company out in America that imports coffee that a lot of people buy coffee through. And how they really get a good price for the roasters is they'll contract the coffees as low as they possibly can, because they're buying containers of coffee. Not just like pallets, not just a couple sacks here and there. They're buying entire lots, like the entire farm. Starbucks is a beautiful example of this, whereas they saw it as more as a expense to keep buying coffee from producers. So what they did is in Vietnam, they bought all the farms, and they started paying the workers because it's cheaper than buying coffee every year on a premium.
Okay, yeah. I see.
So they're really working to cut the middleman of like that supply chain.
When you're in that level of operation, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's not always beneficial for the producers, because they're getting paid the same wage every year when, global warming is a real thing. Bugs and like flooding in Vietnam is a huge thing. So it's very difficult to produce coffee, and it's very difficult for the next generation, when they see their parents struggling so much, to jump into it and say, yes, I want to take over and do this. But long story short, what I would like to do is make social impact on coffee, and as well as provide badass cups of coffee that you can't get anywhere else. So
yeah, I mean, all good work starts locally. I feel like you really embody the think globally, act locally kind of like.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I try to. Yeah, a lot of my roasting experiences actually come from working with local roasters and them showing me their ways and methods and how to roast. And for the past 3 years, actually, I've been practicing what I preach, and I've been giving money to this farm in Venezuela, because they don't get paid very much at all. I paid for his father's open heart surgery. I paid for his employees' wages for 3 months. I paid for crop that got lost during season. I got paid for someone else not paying him. So I mean, supporting the producers is what I really care about the most. And if $300 in a month pays an entire team of 20 people to produce coffee, it's amazing. It's not very much for us to do, but it goes a long way other places. And that's what really means a lot to me.
Kind of like thinking locally, since you mentioned Credo, I'm kind of curious your thoughts on, we've had like an explosion of foxtails in like the local area. We've had, unfortunately, Credo is going to be closing down their downtown location to make way for Starbucks.
Right. Their Health Village location, yep.
Yep. And it's just, I think it kind of, in the back of my mind, it makes me a little scared for specialty coffee. Like for people like you that's trying to elevate coffee, to educate people about its origins and like really bring out brewing techniques to the forefront for customers.
Right.
I don't know, like how do you see the future of specialty coffee in Orlando with these kinds of things going on.
So that's actually the really cool thing that I always like to get asked is when people come into the coffee shop, and when I used to work on bar, and they're like, hey, I'm coming here instead of, the guys across the street and talking about Starbucks. And for me, the biggest thing is, honestly, every coffee has its place. So whether I like it, whether most people like it, whether one person likes it, that coffee has its place. So for Starbucks and for Foxtail or Dunkin' Donuts or whatever we're talking about here, those coffees need to be where they are, because there's a market of people that don't care about specialty coffee quite yet, but they're breaking into it, because going to a Starbucks is better than making Folgers at home.
Right.
And going to a Foxtail is better than going to a Starbucks. There's it's like an onion. There's layers and levels, and in consumers' minds, it's a lot simpler to go to a Foxtail than it is to a Downtown Credo or to a Stemma, where it's really high elevated coffee that they may not understand. It's the fear of not knowing.
Yeah.
And I feel like for specialty coffee in Orlando, it's actually good that we have more of these Foxtails coming up, because it's introducing more people to come into specialty coffee. But as they grow as an individual in their space in coffee, they're going to start separating themselves from Foxtail once they've tried other things. Like Starbucks is essential for the coffee industry. Like if there was not a Starbucks, there would not be a me. There would not be anybody.
Yeah.
They create a whole market demand for specialty, in their eyes, specialty coffee. But like real specialty coffee is going to explode in Orlando. We're on the verge of that explosion. There's, I want to say, the most coffee shops per capita in the entire United States inside of Orlando, whether that be local, chains, anything. There's quite a few. I think there's like 150 or something like that in the local metro Orlando area.
Yeah.
It's a lot of coffee shops. It's more than California, like Santa Barbara, San Francisco.
What makes a good coffee shop for you?
So for me, what makes a great coffee shop is if you have the elevation of the product itself. If you understand that the product that you carry is special and you treat it like that. Whether that's a hole-in-the-wall cafe that doesn't look very visually appealing, but they treat the product very well, or that's someplace like Downtown Credo or Stemma where they take the product as far as they possibly can every step of the way and intentionally source the coffee every step of the way, and they intentionally design the drinks around the consumer basics. So for example, for me, a good shop is someone that cares about community, someone that cares about product quality, and someone that really cares about their employees. That's a big thing that I feel like a lot of shops around here don't really do, is they'll do one of the three things, but they always miss the one. The one, in my experience at least, has always been mistreating employees. It's very common. You don't see a lot of people being like, yeah, I'm excited to come to work behind bar today. There's a couple of shops where people very much are motivated and very excited to come work behind bar, but it's very rare. So what makes a good shop for me is a combination of all those three things, and they do exist out in Orlando, and that's why they're good shops. I'd say my favorite three shops right now are probably going to be Stemma, I like Deeply, and I like Downtown Credo.
I think as business owners, that's one of the things I worry about is...
I know your voice for sure is on top of all that.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to mention, and I think I've come from a software world where I've led teams of people, but not employees, right? Of where you're setting the standard the whole time. And I think that's where we lean on advice and mentorship from other people like yourself in the community of how do we not mess that up? Because ultimately our employees are the community. They're the people the customer sees day in, day. They will make or break the shop, right? Yeah, exactly.
Your front line of defense. And I feel like the best way to keep your employees happy is just to listen to them, listen to what their needs are. And if you guys are open and understanding people, you guys won't have a problem with that. It's not hard to treat people right,
Yeah.
And it's everybody has a different motivation, right? And that's why you gotta listen to them. And
some people are just college students wanting to have a job over the summer or something, and that's cool. Let's support you. I know.
So for some people, it's having more free time is more important than actually making more money. Right. So how can I make you be happy working here while I also give you what motivates you? So,
yeah.
And that is a daily battle that you have to have in terms of the communication with your employees.
100%. Yeah, I used to manage 5 or 6 shops in my career, and it takes a lot out of you just to be able to understand where people are coming from, their motivations. But honestly, at the end of the day, we're all just people, and like we're all trying to be happy the best way that we possibly can, and like whatever is important to the employees needs to be important to the management, which needs to be important to the ownership. So
So I don't know. I might now I want to go more into the business side. I don't know if you have any other questions the same.
No, I mean I have a couple. I was kind of was
let's bounce
wondering.
back and forth. Yeah, let's chop it up. Let's chop it up. We got all
Well,
day.
I remember when I first bought my first bag from you from Cupa, it came with a little sticker of Faye Valentine and a few other anime. I don't know. I just wanted to point out I love that.
Yeah.
When like you do like personal touches in the business, just like like I knew Landon was on the other side of that, like prepping and packing that coffee, throwing those stickers in there. I'm like, that's.
And honestly, man, like keeping it real, like everything that I do, everything that I like put on social media, everything that I create myself, I design myself, and it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of energy, but it's something that I do in my free time because I love it. I'm not a graphic designer by trade. I'm not a businessman by trade. I'm not anything like this. I've figured everything out, trial and error along the way, but. I mean, it makes me happy to hear that people actually appreciate the stuff that we do on the back end.
On my barista, I put that little sticker on my little dosing cup on there, and like see it every day when I dose out my coffee. So I'm
and
like,
it makes you feel special, right?
Yeah, it's like oh, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to transition to more of the businessy side?
Yeah, like now I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah.
I came from entrepreneurship, left my family.
Yeah.
Again, I think Fable would be my 6-7 business. I
didn't know it was that many. I knew you had the bike shop from before.
Yeah, the bike shop. It's just one. When I see a new business, I like to see the numbers. Like, where's the growth of the business? You've been growing every year. How's your sales coming from? How's your funnel? How things are been working for you?
So actually, in the past year, it's been very challenging. I'm sure you guys have felt this a little bit. The economy right now is not great. And so for right now, it's very hard to convince someone to take the very little amount of money that they have and buy a bag of coffee with it when January 1st is coming up. And what does everyone usually do for January 1st? There's two things. Everyone goes to the gym. Everyone cuts out coffee. And that's usually how it is for about a month. So the sales have been a little bit rough this year, especially going into the new year. Boosting more like discounted sales is great, but I've also incentivized like doing more marketing. To help build more general traffic. So what I did this past 2 weeks was build a entire SEO web marketing campaign. So we're going into our website, putting in a bunch of keywords, programming different things, make Google happy, editing all the file names, file sizes, types, everything like that, just to get more general attraction from Google. So in the past 3 weeks, I've gone from being a page 4 Orlando coffee roaster search to page 1.
Oh.
That's
so
awesome.
It's been great. Yeah, it's been great, but it's been a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't know how to do any of this. So a lot of what you talked about is asking people for mentorship and help. Entrepreneurship for me has been nothing but asking people to show me how to do things, not do it for me, but show me how to do things so I know how to do it in the future. Scaling has been a huge thing for me. When we first started off, we had one coffee. That was 3-4 years ago, and now I've got an inventory of 13 coffees. So
it's awesome, man.
Yeah, managing overhead like that is hard.
Yeah.
Managing finance is even harder with that when you're trying to balance, invoices, credit card bills, everything under the imaginable sun. But scaling has been a challenge. It's not been the end of the world, but it's definitely been a challenge when you have more SKUs running across all your channels, and some shops are only buying this, and some shops are only buying that, and then your retail is mainly this, so you're trying to find a nice middle ground for your other coffees. Biggest thing for me is my volume has increased in retail, and my wholesale has decreased in volume this year. So it's actually been a very weird, inconsistent income challenge, but you'd expect the opposite, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure you prefer the wholesale accounts too.
It gives you a more stable income. So for roasters, a lot of what is great for margin is your retail. But when you're selling for consistent sales that will give you the cash flow that you need to operate is wholesale.
That's the same with my bakery.
Right.
My wholesale is my favorite because I know every week I'm making that sale income, but the retail just gives you that margin that is just,
it gives you the margin boost that you need, and it helps generate a large sum of cash when you need it. And it's not like you're running off at the hills and like going to spend it on something stupid. You're reinvesting it all back in the business, and that's It's how it has been for 3 years. And I'm at the point where I need to start investing more and getting more out of my investments in the business than just sustaining, if that makes sense.
So most of your retail sales is online sales?
Most of my retail sales is e-commerce, yes. So I sell retail bags to shops for them to like resell as a retail bag, but that's on a wholesale price. Right. Mm-hmm. So all my sales are pretty much on e-commerce through the website.
What's your website?
My website is CupaCoffeeRoasting.com. We got a camera right here in the chat. I have it on my arm. So if you guys want to hit it up, if you guys are watching the live chat.
No worries. I'll put in the I'll put in the description. The link as well.
100%.
It's CUPA.coffeeroasting.com. So if you guys want to hit that up, it'd be really, really cool. I've got 13 different coffees to show you guys, all of them from different regions, all really fun. Really intentionally sourced coffees. I spend months on end deciding what I want to buy for next quarter. So
I mean, tell us about your favorite coffee that you have right now. Hype people up, dude.
Oh man! So the one coffee I've got 2 bags left is called a Colombia Sidra. It's a wash process. So the cultivar Sidra is actually an unknown origin kind of cultivar. So cultivar and coffee, Andy, is like the strain of what coffee plant it is. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of different cultivars. They can crossbreed and make new ones every day. Sidra came out a couple years ago. No one really knows what country it stems from. A lot of people argue that it's Indonesia. Some people argue that it's in Africa. But now this coffee is in Colombia. So when you take a different cultivar that's typically grown in one place and you put it in a different place, the terroir where you're growing the coffee starts to really affect the acidity, the body, the flavor components, and like everything on a cupping sheet about that coffee. It's truly a unique experience to that exact one lot. And that coffee is my absolute favorite. It tastes like orange soda, like lychee.
It's one of the ones that we tried during the cupping.
It's one of the ones you guys had during the
right?
cupping, and it was very fun.
Might go well with the orange juice.
Yeah, right?
Oh
yeah.
Have you
espresso and orange juice?
Yeah, Andy keeps wanting to put. We tried it once.
I don't know about it, man. That's up to y'all.
That's the part of the nature of experimenting with coffee.
10, but it was a good.
It wasn't a negative 10. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It can be improved on.
Well.
Yeah, I mean. I don't know.
Have you had the TikTok orange espresso with seltzer?
Yeah, we used to in the shop I used to work at. We had a joke called the espresso shake challenge, and it was like
the shaken espresso.
No, you think, but it was like a joke where it's like, oh, you don't want to work today? Do the espresso shake challenge. So you drink an entire 16-ounce espresso shake, and you drink 6 ounces of orange juice. And if you guys don't know about how coagulation works, when you drink orange juice with milk, it will immediately coagulate in your stomach.
It curdles.
Yeah,
the acidity,
and you will get very sick.
So just shake your system up. Yeah. Really wake you.
So I mean that every time I hear someone talk about espresso and orange juice, I'm like, first of all, y'all nasty. Second of all,
don't add milk to that.
Don't do it. I'm like, don't play with fire.
Some people like it creamy,
Yeah, I mean, you can figure something out with orange, yeah, definitely, but I don't know about orange juice.
It's part of the experimental process for us for the seasonals.
You guys can take that bullet, and I'll trust you guys.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite coffee drink?
My favorite coffee drink. I mean, you stole the words right out of my mouth. Espresso is my favorite. My second one would probably be a plain batch brew coffee. Pour overs are excellent. Don't get me wrong, but when you go to a shop, there's 2 things that I look for. Do you pull espresso well? Like, how is your puck prep, and like how clean is your bar? And then my second thing is like, how's your drip? Because that's what 90% of people are getting.
Yeah, they just want a black coffee and to go.
Yeah, and if you can do a drip where all you're doing is loading in a filter, some grounds, and pressing a button and walking away for 4 minutes, if you can do that right, the rest of your shop is
like
pretty
the
good.
fundamentals of
Yeah, so I mean, it's always like a personal challenge of mine. Like when you're so far into coffee, like you can't just enjoy a coffee anymore. Like you got to critique everything about it. Like you have to breathe.
I struggle with that. You have to turn off your critique brain sometimes. You kind of have to force it. Right? It's like I just need to enjoy whatever this is.
Yeah, you're
right
like,
now.
wow, this is not what I'm looking for, but I like it for whatever reason. And like that for me is what I really come down to is if your drip is good, if your espresso is good, I'm with it. And those are my two drinks that I always get. Maybe when it's really hot outside during the summer, I'll grab a cold brew. I'm not a barista anymore, man. Like, that cold brew tears me up. Like, it's too much caffeine. Back when I was like a madman and I could have like 8, 9, 10 cups of coffee a day, sure. But like now, I'm an old man, bro. I can't have that.
That's my life.
Tuning espresso in the morning, having 3 or 4 or 5 or 10.
Yeah, is when you're in a barista, like your caffeine tolerance is like absolutely disrespectful, and like you are having like probably 15, 17 shots that like you're either drinking all of or dumping in the span of like 3 hours.
Yeah,
And
you're transcending the mortal realm into for sure.
You are literally rolling a nat 20 and going straight past the entire game up to the immortal realm. So, I mean, I think my favorite coffee that I've had Orlando recently has been Stemma's Peaches on espresso. It was a peach co-ferment coffee, which they take peaches and they actually put it in a fermentation tank.
Oh, really?
At Origin, and they'll seal off the tank so it's vacuum sealed and it'll ferment for X amount of days.
Wait, they throw peaches and coffee together in a tank and then just seal it up.
The coffee cherries, when it's still like fermenting during a wash process, they'll throw peaches, like cut up peaches, and they'll start to ferment together.
Is it really funky?
It tastes like peach rings.
That
like,
sounds
no lie,
amazing.
like you know how there's like flavor calls on coffee. This one is like no joke. It tasted like Welch's peach rings.
I gotta try that.
They had it for a while.
I'm so down. It's been a while since I've been to Stemma.
Yeah, they had it for a while. I want to say maybe like about a week, but like they got rid of it as soon as they sold out of it. And that was my favorite coffee I've had all year. It was amazing.
Man.
It was a 2-ounce little beverage too. Oof. What about y'all? What do you guys like?
I'm a basic dude. Anything with milk, it's okay with me.
Yeah.
But at my house, I just press the button of the Keurig.
Welcome to my struggle of getting Andy to switch
man,
off.
like I said in the beginning of this podcast, like every coffee's got its place in the Keurig machines. Like
the convenience, man, you can't beat it.
Yeah,
if I'm going out and paying for good coffee,
right?
Yeah, like a cappuccino is always my go-to.
Yeah.
I love cappuccinos. But I'm home. I press the button. Whatever comes out of there. If it's sometimes it's really bad, I just chug that thing.
Dude,
I need to wake up to work. So
yeah, no, I totally feel you. Every time I ask my wife to make me a pour over, she doesn't weigh it. She doesn't do anything with it. She boils the water.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh.
Cut to Landon like measuring out the one like coffee bean. It's too much. It's too much.
Like down to the gram.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
And my addiction to caffeine has gotten to a level that I would literally wake up, drink coffee, then buy an energy drink.
Yeah.
Come home and drink another cup of coffee.
No, I get it.
To balance out the energy
drink. I try
drink.
to cut myself by 3 p.m. so I go to sleep. So if it's like 2:58, I make a coffee and then chug.
It still counts. You got it in, dude.
So that's usually how it goes.
Man,
I'm a fiend for Red Bull, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like every time I get a chance when I'm on the road, I'll hit a Red Bull.
It's the taste. People think, oh, it's just the caffeine made me get addicted to it.
Right.
The taste.
The taste of the Red Bull. Listen, everyone listening, there is something to be said about there is no natural flavor occurring in Red Bull, and they have lab grown this flavor, and I don't know what it tastes like, but I am here for it until I am dead.
No, do you know the story of Red Bull?
No.
Real quick, because we're here to talk about coffee.
Yeah.
Was this UK guy that went to a place in Asia, I think it was India, and then he found this village doing that drink that pretty much Red Bull.
Yeah.
He brought it back to UK, put in cans, and started selling. And it didn't sell at all because people were like, what the hell is this? It tastes awful.
Yeah.
Well, the brand new, you have tried that before. Then that's when he invented the marketing that Red Bull does, like paying people to do those crazy stunts.
Yeah.
Put the name Red Bull out there.
Yeah.
And that's how Red Bull ended up being what it is.
I mean, everything's branding, man.
The power of marketing.
Yeah, the power of marketing and branding. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
But yeah, the drink is a natural... Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. It's been chemically optimized for the human body.
But it started as a drink that he found in the middle of like, the woods in Asia. So
he went to this village and he saw all these people doing like dirt bike backflips and shit.
They were on ATVs, chugging Coronas,
jumping canyons.
This is great, guys.
He's like, I need this drink.
This drink, like,
yeah, that makes sense. This tracks.
What about you? What's your favorite cup of coffee?
I'm also an espresso fiend. The other thing I look out for is a good cortado. like espresso with a little bit of steamed milk, that gets me, dude. It feels so cozy and warm. It's very drinkable.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
just
know.
approachable. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
Like, it's balanced. It's sweet.
If
It's not overbearing.
the shop has good espresso, you'll still get a little hit into it. And if
Yeah.
they're good at steaming milk, like you'll get something
get
really
the best
nice
of
and
both
rich.
worlds,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So that's kind of my go-to,
Oh yeah.
man.
And do you play anything?
I play the roaster. I play the part of being a businessman during the day. I play a lot of Pokemon.
Pokemon.
So a lot of what I do in my free time. Do you guys know what a Nuzlocke is?
Yeah, man.
You're about to educate us.
Yeah.
A Nuzlocke on Pokemon is the definition of I don't love myself at all. So every
Yes,
time
the
that you,
masochism strain of gaming.
yeah, it's like playing League and World of Warcraft and Fortnite and like everything
The
all at once.
sweatiest.
Yeah. So what a Nuzlocke in Pokemon is you're only allowed to catch one Pokemon per route. You can't use items. You can't trade Pokemon. If your Pokemon faint, you have to release them. And if all of your Pokemon faint in your party and you black out during the game, you have to restart the entire game.
What?
So I've gotten
Are you okay?
to the 8th
Do you
gym
need help?
3 times now
Wow.
this week.
What?
And I've lost every single time.
And you have to start from the beginning?
I literally have to go and just before my mind even processes what's happening, go and delete the account that I'm playing the game on.
I need you to
And restart.
Where do you play this first?
I played on the Switch, so I'm
Okay.
playing.
So this is self-imposed, self-disciplined.
It's self-disciplined, self-imposed, self-everything. You can get ROMs on the computer that have rules for you. I play this on the Switch on Pokemon Shining Pearl, and Diamond and Pearl Pokemon have been opposed up until Black and White 2. Were supposedly the hardest Pokemon games you could play.
You know what the last Pokemon I played?
Probably Red, Gold, Silver. None of
He's
them.
going way back, dude.
None of them.
Pokemon Yellow.
Oh, you played Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah,
that was my first
that
one.
That was the last Pokemon I ever
That was
played.
my first Pokemon I ever played. And when I was a young man, I didn't understand how Pokemon worked. So I got my Blastoise to level 100 before I went to the first gym. And I just was grinding for days and days and days playing against like Rattatas.
And that's also the only the other Pokemon I played for was the Nintendo 64.
The stadium.
The photo one.
Oh, Pokemon Snap. Yeah.
Oh, that was a cool
Yeah.
one. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sparks like a neuron.
They remade Pokemon Snap and they put it on the Switch. Yeah,
okay.
my wife plays it all the time, and
And that's
it
all
looks so fun.
that's all the Pokemon I ever played in my life.
Yeah,
And
Dude,
I mean,
wow.
I've been addicted to Pokemon
I still
now.
love people watching when the Pokemon Go was a big thing.
Yeah,
I think it was right before the pandemic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'll just go to the parks and see people just like
On their phones catching stuff? Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
I anything Pokemon related, you bet your money, I'm there for it. I don't play Pokemon Go because I need to separate myself from that every now and again, because otherwise it'd be on my phone all the dang time. But I play a lot of Pokemon. What else do I play, man? I play like Borderlands.
Oh, that's fun. That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Borderlands.
yeah. I play like a lot of like
Snazzy.
strange. I play like a lot of like mid 2000s to like mid 2010 games.
Oh yeah.
Newer games, I haven't really got into them. I like the nostalgia of the games I used to play growing up. So like, I think my favorite one growing up was probably Halo like 2. Like Halo 2 was like my probably favorite game.
Yeah.
That was Halo 3.
Yeah.
Well, I played it too, but Halo 3 was the.
I mean, I remember being in like middle school and loading Combat Evolved on the.
Yeah. Or like
trying
Halo
to sneak in
Wars.
between. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Guild Wars.
Halo Wars and like all that stuff.
Oh, Halo Wars too. Yeah.
I used to play so much Xbox when I was in high school. Like I was not a popular kid. So like gaming, yeah,
You look so popular.
gaming was like my biggest thing for the longest time. When I moved down here, I kind of like let that go a little bit, and I had to focus more on like my life because I didn't know anybody. So I was like, I need to make friends again. This is
What
weird.
made you move down to Orlando?
So my wife and I went to the same high school.
Okay.
When she graduated, she went directly from there and did a summer at UCF. And
Okay.
so we're from Michigan, right?
Yeah.
So I stayed up there and I did college for 2 years. So we did long distance for 2 years, 2.5, something like that. And then I eventually moved down here to finish up college and be with her because I would forget what she looked like because we wouldn't see each other for 4 months at a time. And it was like, this is not ideal for my small brain developing at 18 years old. So we moved down here when I was about 20. And that was, oh God. Oh, I can do math. I'm almost 26. That was 6 years ago.
Man.
So I just got married
that's beautiful.
in March. So
Oh, congrats.
yeah, it was our 7-year anniversary together.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's when we moved.
Do you think Orlando then was a good move for you? Do you feel like moving away somewhere?
We talk about it. Moving is obviously somewhere more affordable is the idea. But Orlando's a beautiful city, man. I think it's got really good culture, like all around. Got really, really sick diversity. Like, you can go into Mills and get any kind of Asian food you want. Even if you go like further past Mills, you get into like the higher end restaurants. Either way you go. You got Soto, which has really cool, like kind of like street, kind of millennial kind of food. And you got Milk District, which is popping for kind of fun stuff. Like heart of downtown is really cool bar scene, really cool culture down there. Lots of stuff to do.
So much to explore.
Yeah, and like we talked about this before we started the cast, but like I watched the Orlando episode. You guys talked about so many like iconic things about Orlando. And I think one of the most important things that everyone coming to Orlando is it's not just Disney World. Like, there's so much local stuff around here.
I don't even think we touched on a single place on like that side of town.
Yeah.
It was like we just kept them going on this side of town. It's great.
Well, you do have the Dr. Phillips area.
Yeah.
And then I drive.
Yeah, the up and coming areas. Yeah.
Then that's when the locals mix a little bit with the
tourists.
With the tourists. But of course. First time come to Orlando, go see Disney. You know, you gotta take that out of your
system.
bucket
Can't get on the bucket list.
list.
Yeah.
But then Orlando has so much more to offer. The city just it's huge though.
It's huge, and like the coolest thing is you throw a rock and you're in a different part of the city, and like they're like over
different
the street,
feel. Yeah,
it's completely different, and it's so cool.
That's what every time I go visit my parents down in Miami, they try to convince me to move down to Miami every single time. I'm like, I am very purposely choosing Orlando because of all the places I've been to in Florida. It's just, I don't know,
it's cool.
Yeah, it felt the most correct to me. Yeah, exactly. It's like there's actually some walkable spaces around here. I mean, there's so much variety. Yeah,
Orlando, it's a different town. I've never seen a town like Orlando. Like I come.
It really is like 20 different towns altogether.
Brazil. I was fortunate enough to see other countries. I've seen a bunch of places here in America. No city behaves like Orlando.
Nah, I mean...
It's weird. Like, everything's drivable. Like, oh yeah, other cities too. But at the same time, you can walk. If you go to the neighborhood that you're trying to walk from.
You can walk pretty much anywhere, yeah.
And then, I have these pockets of areas that, like all the cities might be divided by their where the people come from, their nations, their heritage. Like the Asian area,
you got the Cuban area, the Puerto Ricans, yeah.
But at the same time, they're mixed. It's a little weird.
A nice fun melting pot.
All the places I've seen, people really they separate it. Here, I'm in the Cuban area, but it's a Cuban and American and the Mexican and then Cuban again. But this is the Cuban area. But why?
This is the Cuban area.
Yeah, but why if it's everybody? It's mixed here. So it's just interesting. Orlando is like a melting pot in a way that I don't know. It resembles New York. Without everybody being
without the density,
yeah. And I mean that's the cool thing too about Orlando is I've noticed is like everyone's so cool with each other, like everyone is so like we're gonna fuse our culture instead of like separate. So like a lot of places on Mills, like the food places we've talked about, like Pokehana, really quick, they fuse like Asian food and they fuse like Hawaiian food. And it doesn't seem like it should make sense. And it's very, very good.
It's very good.
It's very, very good.
Taco China,
yeah.
it's Mexican style food with Indian and Korean ingredients.
Yep.
So you could get like a pan curry burrito or a beef bulgogi burrito.
And it's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it's like $7.
Yeah.
It's like it's super
you find
cheap.
That? Yeah.
No, and like that's the thing is like I come from a small town outside of Detroit, Michigan, and there was no diversity there. So when I went to college in Kalamazoo on the other side of the state in Michigan, it was completely different for me because I was like, wow, there's more culture, there's more diversity. And I moved down here as 20 years old, and I felt like an Amish kid in New York. I was like, where am I? You know what I mean? Like, it was so strange. It was such a culture shock. Because like it's not just like one culture that you're getting. It's like you're getting hit with everybody. And like everybody that you meet has like a completely different background. No one from Orlando is from Orlando.
No. When you see a person like, where you're born in Orlando, like
you're like, really?
You're rare, man. Like,
you're like a unicorn, yeah.
It's really rare. And like again, I came from another country, and my tiny city in Brazil, like I never seen a foreigner until I was like, until I moved here, like 14, 15, like seeing a person speaking a different language was just like,
You're like, whoa. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like when I grew up in Michigan, like my Spanish teacher lived across the street from me, and he was from Mexico. Like that was about the most diversity my town had. And and even then, like when I lived up there, I was like, man, I'll never learn Spanish. And I moved down here, and I was like, damn it! I was like, I should learn Spanish.
How can I order something on Mikado's?
The food is great.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry, bro. We could tear up some taco chino later.
Yeah.
Hey, you have time. You get some taco when we're done here. Yeah, for sure. Well, that we should in like when we have guests make a way that we can order food, and then we can always have our new Orlando food here.
Yeah, you should make a segment where all you guys do is like just try like one new thing across Orlando that like none of you have had.
Tried. That would make a fun one for an episode. Just like, hey, I went to this random place. I want you to try it.
I really want to get everybody now that I know into the Brazilian pizza.
Brazilian pizza. What is that?
I think we spent 10 minutes last
one of my good friends here in Orlando, we're just from the same hometown.
Yeah.
He opened a pizza place here, and I give mad respect to the guy because he came from nothing, and now he has multiple locations now. He's doing super well.
Yeah.
And he does the Brazilian style of pizza is like we overload on the toppings.
Okay.
And we do have this cheese that's called catupiry.
Yeah.
But it's like a cream cheese, but a little different, but same creamy. And you just get you've seen those bags of...
The piping bags?
Yeah, it just like go like that on the pizza.
It's like the oversized pepper shaker just with cream cheese
So
though.
it's like, here you ask, what's the most famous pizza? People say pepperoni. In Brazil, it's chicken with catupiry cheese.
Oh, I'm down. I'm down.
Do we gotta do a remote there?
And
I'm talking if there's not like that much cream cheese on there, I'm not eating it. Like
that's nothing.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then we just make any, and so we are known also for having the all-you-can-eat pizza in Brazil.
Yeah.
Like you go to this pizza here, but it's not like that. Like you're sitting at your table, and then there'll be 100 types of pizza that
It's like Texas to Brazil style.
Yeah, and this guy will come
Pizza.
And
Evan, that's great.
And they gotta make up flavors just to announce, just to advertise. They have over 100 types.
Oh my god.
Oh, tuna pizza, and they just threw like a canned tuna on top of the cheese. I'm like, yes. Oh, now I have this corn with crab.
It's like anything can go on a pizza.
So anything goes in there, and then it's just like. When you find the flavor you love, the thing just...
It just works. And guess what? They got 100 flavors, so you can pick and choose
how
you want.
dessert pizzas is the favorite to me, though.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We have what's called the Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
That's guava and cheese.
Oh.
Say no more.
Say less, bro. Why are you so
you have the piping bag of guava.
Of guava.
And the piping bag of catupiry cheese.
Oh my god.
And that thing goes in there. But that's how in Brazil everything... So you can make a lot of desserts and call Romeo and Juliet. That only means that whatever you made has guava and
cheese. Okay.
That's how we call them. And I gotta start taking pictures and showing people here because they'll be like, what the hell is a Brazilian pizza?
Yeah.
Andy, honestly, let me place an order for that dessert pizza, bro. I'll pick it up next week.
And then the Nutella with strawberry pizza. It's just a piping bag of Nutella. And then it goes.
That's beautiful.
We have something operationally to learn from these people.
Pizza, it's my favorite though.
Yeah, culturally, I feel like I'm connecting with the Brazilians.
Yeah.
Like in Brazil, every dessert we have the banana thing. Here you don't do it. Everything's apple. Well, there's banana. So the banana pizza for me is like one of my favorites.
Banana pizza, man. I nenever would have thought, but honestly, that sounds like I'm a stoner, man. So like that sounds amazing to me. That sounds amazing to me.
If you like bananas, cheese, cinnamon, and sugar. Why are you not gonna like all that?
Bro, I would love all those individually. Why am I not gonna love them together?
Together, yeah.
On bread, that's pizza dough. So it's literally we gotta do like a remote video there.
No, you have to.
Well, I don't know if you watch my podcast, but I'm pretty sure he'll let us record there.
Yeah.
It's great.
We keep plugging his place, and I'm here for it.
You gotta get the sponsorship, man.
We should get sponsored by them.
It's called Pie Faction, if anybody wants to go. They have 2 locations, one in Hunters Creek and one at Metro West.
Okay.
So,
yeah, no, I'll definitely be checking that out. You said it's called, what's it at?
Pie Faction.
Pie Faction, okay.
Yeah.
Well, everyone listening, definitely check that out, because we're talking about the Brazilian dessert pizza, and I'm sitting over here like my stomach just gargled.
Dude.
Got some pizza after here, but anyway, so we're here to talk more about you, Landon. You know,
Okay.
I know we're gonna have the pizza episode, but tell us more about the Orlando scene that you like.
Yeah, so what's so cool about the Orlando coffee scene is like everyone's not afraid to come out and like talk to each other. And in a lot of other cities that I've been to, it seems like a coffee culture is very exclusive to like just where you work. Saying that like, you know, I went to the Latte Art Throwdown on Thursday at Koosh, and it seemed like I knew every single person that was there. And
that's
like
cool.
we were talking mutually, you know, excited to see each other, like actually happy to be there. Everyone goes and spends their free time doing stuff in the coffee community, so it's really cool. And I feel like it's we talked about this a little bit, like kind of talking about like not you don't feel like this anywhere else in the world. Every time I leave Orlando and I come back, it feels like I'm home the next time I go into a shop, and they're like, "Hey, Landon, how are you?" And like I'm like, "This is cool." Like and nowhere else in the world does a barista know my name or my order or like anything like that. And not only that, are they going to take the time to make it well? You know what I mean? So. I feel like it's not just me, but I feel like I've gotten enough respect in the industry at this point. Wherever I go into a shop and the barista knows who I am, if I get an espresso, they'll completely redial the espresso just for me, and that's super cool.
That is saying something, yeah.
It's really cool.
Having that personal touch is.
Yeah, and it's really cool, and it's like, guys, it kills me because I'm like, guys, don't spend all your time doing this, but like, I appreciate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the coffee industry around here is very close knit. It seems like everyone knows each other's drama, but at the same time, it seems like we're all good friends, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay. Well, we're coming to the end of this podcast, but before we go, you know that we're gonna be up in Fable in hopefully a few months.
Yep.
And besides the quality of the coffee, to have this great coffee shop, what do you think we should do? Because I don't know if you heard how what we're trying to be
right
in the coffee space, also in the tabletop and gaming community,
right,
and things like that. So what's your view, and what do you be your best advice?
I would say
Fable?
my best advice for you guys is probably to have as many events as you possibly can handle. The more people that you give incentive to come to your space are people that are going to remember that memory more so than anything else. You can give them the best cup of coffee you've ever had or ever produced in your entire life. They may or may not remember that, but I guarantee you they'll remember how you talk to them. I guarantee they'll remember exactly what they were doing one part of the night that gives them that memory. Because what got me into coffee was I think back to the show Friends. Most of that show I hate it, but most of that show comes back around the coffee shop. And they're just in the coffee shop 90% of the time. And that's housing memories. So by all means, if you guys can and have the ability to host events, host game nights, host trivia nights, like host these fun things that people want to come to. Like if you guys get excited about it, you should share that with the people. Because that brings coffee and personality and board games all together. So, I mean, honestly, I don't think there's anything that you guys could do wrong other than just not having people pull up. But that's going to be the best thing for you guys. You guys are starting from ground zero. You guys have literally nowhere to go but up. So just host events, plug your stuff, and be real. And you guys will do great.
Great.
Well, I'm glad that we pushed in our lease to be open late then.
Yeah.
We very specifically were like, we need to be open like at least by 11 p.m. You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing too over by UCF. I mean, we're talking business again. Like kids over there stay out late. Like they're going to want someplace to go and hang out, and like having a good environment for that and a good space for them and good space for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. That's what I noticed. Like myself, I'm getting older. I'm not going to drink a cup of coffee at 8 o'clock at night.
Nah, man.
But I was visiting other places around there. Those kids, they're like their laptops. They're but 16 hours.
They're plugged in. Yeah, they're plugged in at all hours of the day.
I'm like, okay, that's if that's what the community is looking for, of course,
we be the staple for it. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I remember not opening up shop, but I managed a shop over by UCF for years, and we were open until 10, 11 o'clock, and kids would stay until 12 when I was cleaning up the shop, and they're like, do we have to leave? And I'm like, I mean, no, but like you got to go home.
All right, well,
that's great. Yeah, and events is what previous podcast we said that events is one thing we want to do.
Very big for us.
How regular it's going to be, if it's going to be weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, and
that's something you figure out. Yeah.
But that's one thing that we want to do for sure. The community. We want the community. We want the Orlando community to be there. We want to have more like a night more focusing like the gaming geeks and more also the family time. Like when bring parents and kids and have
a good space for it. It's a good space for everybody. Absolutely.
All right, cool. Great. Well, is there anything else you want to plug?
I want to plug Fable Coffee because if you guys aren't checking them out when
Heck
they
yeah.
open up, you guys are missing out. I'll come for you. I will talk as much shit as I need to get you
Don't
guys
threaten
over
me.
there.
I will cry.
Don't threaten me. I'll cry.
So, guys, please check out Landon's Cupa Coffee.
Cup of coffee roasting.
.com.
Yep.
Go buy some bags. Try some of his sick coffee. And that's us signing off.
Yeah, well, any comments, guys, put it down there. Leave a like, subscribe, all the YouTube crap that we gotta say.
Keep it real.
Yeah, keep it real.
All right,
Hey,
guys.
guys. Have a good night.
See ya.
All the YouTube crap we gotta say.
Honestly.
It's beautiful.
All right, let's
Make sure to have you on.
I heard a guy saying that one time, like, I like that guy,
Yeah,
because he's being real, Like,
I'm gonna hit that restroom one more time.
no worries.
I'll do 56 minutes. Okay. Probably
56 minutes. That went by like crazy fast.
He does.
Yeah.
Then when we start recording, just like,
Jeez, how do y'all boys do it?
Oh,
my
man.
god. I do Instagram lives for like an hour, and I'm like, I feel like
I need to take a
entire
nap.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right now.
Hello, were you waiting first? Were you waiting first?
Can you take it behind the scenes?
Yeah. I mean, I remember opening a shop. I managed a shop over by, all the.
What's the likelihood that they all recorded? What's the likelihood that they all recorded?
What do you mean they all recorded?
The setup. Oh, let me do a photo of you with the setup, actually. Oh, stuff more in there, yeah. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, don't show my shorts.
I think we should do definitely behind the scenes. So yeah.